Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ESS Liberty watching the stars through the main viewing window. The ship moved slowly through space near the edge of human territory. It was a quiet Tuesday morning in 2157, and nothing seemed different from any other day. Jake had been commanding the Liberty for 3 years now, and he knew every sound the ship made. The gentle hum of the engines told him everything was working perfectly. Dr. Amanda Brooks sat at her science station checking the daily sensor reports. She was a smart woman who had spent most of her life studying space and the strange things that lived in it. Her computer showed the usual readings from nearby star systems. Everything looked normal until her screen started flashing red warnings. The sensors had picked up something big moving toward them from deep space. Amanda called Jake over to look at her readings. The numbers on her screen showed energy signatures unlike anything they had seen before. Whatever was out there was huge. And there were many of them. Jake felt his heart start beating faster as he realized they might be looking at alien ships. Humanity had met a few alien races before, but nothing this big had ever appeared at their borders. On Earth, Director Charles Hayes was having his morning coffee in the command center under Geneva. He ran the Global Defense Council, and his job was to keep humanity safe from threats. His aide, Lieutenant Grace Murphy, burst into his office with urgent reports from the outer colonies. Strange ships had been spotted at the edges of multiple star systems all at the same time, Charles put down his coffee and walked to the main control room. The big screen showed maps of human space with red dots marking where the unknown ships had appeared. There were dozens of them scattered across 12 different star systems. This was not a random encounter. Someone had planned this carefully. Far beyond human space, Supreme Admiral Vexstar stood in the command center of his flagship. He was the leader of the Hegemony, a group of 12 alien races that had ruled parts of the galaxy for over 1,000 years. His species looked like tall humans, but with gray skin and large black eyes. He had been watching the humans expand into space for the past 50 years, and he did not like what he saw. The humans were different from other races the Hegemony had conquered. They spread quickly from planet to planet, and they adapted to any environment. They built weapons and ships faster than anyone expected. Most worrying of all, they never seemed to give up when things got hard. Vexstar had decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to grow stronger. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded the border patrol ship ESS Defender. She was making her regular patrol near the Kepler system when her sensors detected something massive approaching. Lisa had been a ship captain for 10 years, and she had never seen anything like what appeared on her screens. The alien ship was 3 times larger than her vessel, and it seemed to bend light around itself, making it hard to see clearly. Lisa ordered her crew to battle stations and tried to contact the alien ship. The response came quickly in perfect English, which surprised everyone on the bridge. The alien voice was cold and mechanical sounding. It told Lisa that humanity had exactly 72 hours to leave all their colonies and return to Earth. If they refused, all human settlements would be destroyed completely. Lisa asked why they wanted humans to leave, but the alien ship cut off communication. She immediately sent an emergency message to Earth telling them about the ultimatum. Similar messages were coming in from patrol ships across human space. Every ship captain was reporting the same 72-hour deadline. Back on the Liberty, Jake and Amanda worked frantically to learn more about the alien fleet. The sensors showed that each ship was powered by technology far more advanced than anything humans had built. But Amanda noticed something interesting in the energy patterns. The alien ships were very powerful, but they seemed to follow rigid patterns in how they moved and operated. Director Hayes called an emergency meeting with leaders from all 12 human colonies. The quantum communication system let them all talk in real time, even though they were scattered across many star systems. Some colony governors wanted to evacuate immediately. Others argued for trying to negotiate with the aliens. A few, like Governor Rick Stone from New Texas, said they should prepare to fight. The debate went on for hours while the deadline got closer. Jake Morrison received orders to stay near the edge of human space and watch what the aliens were doing. His crew, including Lieutenant Dan Miller and Ensign Amy White, prepared their ship for whatever might come next. As the 72 hours ran out, Supreme Admiral Vextar gave the order for his fleet to advance. He expected to find empty human colonies, ready to be occupied. The hegemony had conquered 17 different species using the same method. They would show overwhelming force, and the enemy would surrender rather than face certain death. But when the hegemony ships reached human space, they found something they had never encountered before. The humans had not evacuated. Instead, they had chosen to stand and fight against impossible odds. For the first time in 1,000 years of conquest, the hegemony faced a species that refused to be intimidated. Director Charles Hayes stood in the main conference room looking at the faces of 12 colony governors on the wall screens. Each leader represented millions of people scattered across human space, and they were all looking to him for answers. The alien ultimatum had created panic in some colonies, while others were already preparing for war. Charles knew he had to make a decision that would affect the future of the human race. Governor Rick Stone from New Texas was the first to speak up. He was a tough man who had helped build his colony from nothing, and he was not about to abandon it now. Rick told the other governors that evacuating would only encourage more alien attacks in the future. His daughter, Major Kate Stone, commanded the local defense forces, and she supported her father completely. Together, they had already begun turning civilian equipment into weapons and training volunteers for combat. Dr. Amanda Brooks presented her analysis of the alien technology to the council. She had spent the last 24 hours studying the sensor data from multiple encounters with the hegemony fleet. While their ships were clearly more advanced than human vessels, Amanda had found something interesting. The alien energy systems seemed to follow very predictable patterns, and they did not adapt quickly to changes. Captain Ben Foster represented the military viewpoint in the discussion. He commanded the defense forces for 3 outer colonies, and he believed humanity should fight rather than run. Ben argued that the aliens had given them an ultimatum because they were not completely confident in their ability to defeat humans. In battle, if they were truly superior, they would have attacked immediately without any warnings. Some of the colony governors disagreed strongly with the decision to fight. They pointed out that human ships were outnumbered at least 4-1. And the alien technology was clearly superior. Governor Helen Parker from New California said that evacuating would save millions of lives and give humanity time to develop better weapons and defenses. The debate continued for hours while the hegemony fleet moved closer to human settlements. Charles Hayes listened to every argument carefully, but he could see that most of the governors were leaning toward resistance rather than evacuation. Even the colonies that wanted to evacuate were already making preparations to defend themselves just in case. On New Texas, Major Kate Stone worked with her engineering teams to convert farming equipment into military hardware. The large tractors used for agriculture were being fitted with armor plating and weapon systems. Grain storage silos were being converted into missile launchers, and the orbital platforms used for shipping were becoming defensive stations. Kate knew they were badly outgunned, but she also knew that humans had always found ways to win against superior enemies. Meanwhile, Supreme Admiral Vextar reviewed intelligence reports about human military capabilities. The hegemony had been observing human expansion for decades, and they had detailed information about ship designs and weapon systems. What puzzled Vextar was that humans seemed to be ignoring the obvious superiority of the hegemony fleet. Every other species had immediately surrendered when faced with such overwhelming force. Commander Jake Morrison received new orders from Earth to maintain his position and gather as much intelligence as possible about the alien fleet. His crew prepared the Liberty for extended operations while staying hidden in the shadow of a large asteroid. Lieutenant Dan Miller worked on upgrading their weapons systems, while Ensign Amy White monitored alien communications, trying to learn more about their plans. The hegemony had developed their tactics over 1,000 years of conquest, and they always followed the same pattern. First, they would demonstrate overwhelming force to make the enemy realize resistance was hopeless. Then they would accept surrender and integrate the defeated species into their empire as workers or soldiers. The system had worked perfectly for centuries. Back on Earth, Charles Hayes made his final decision. He announced that humanity would not abandon the colonies and would resist the alien invasion with every available resource. The vote was not unanimous, but 10 of the 12 colonies supported the decision to fight. Even the 2 colonies that voted for evacuation agreed to help with the defense effort. Dr. Brooks made another important discovery while analyzing captured alien transmissions. The hegemony communication system used quantum frequencies that could be disrupted by the right kind of interference. She began working on a way to jam their communications during battle, which could give human forces a significant advantage despite their technological disadvantage. Captain Lisa Rodriguez was ordered to take her ship, the S. Defender, and conduct reconnaissance missions near alien positions. She had to get close enough to gather detailed sensor data without being detected by the superior alien sensors. Lisa knew this was extremely dangerous, but the information she collected could help save human lives in the coming battles. The 72-hour deadline passed, and the hegemony fleet began moving toward human colonies. Supreme Admiral Vexstar expected to receive surrender messages from the human settlements, but instead his sensors detected something unprecedented. The humans were actively preparing defensive positions and moving military forces to intercept the hegemony advance. Governor Stone refused to evacuate New Texas despite direct orders from some Earth officials. He told his people that they had built their homes through hard work and sacrifice, and they would not be driven away by alien threats. Thousands of civilians volunteered to help with the defense effort, and the colony began to resemble a fortress more than a farming community. The first hegemony scout ships reached the outer edge of human space and immediately encountered defensive positions that had not existed just days before. Human engineering teams had worked around the clock to build weapon platforms and sensor networks using whatever materials they could find. The aliens found themselves facing prepared defenses instead of the easy conquest they had expected. Communications between the human colonies increased dramatically as leaders shared information about alien movements and defensive strategies. A.R. Brooks had created a secure quantum communication network that the aliens could not easily intercept. This allowed human forces to coordinate their defense across multiple star systems simultaneously. As the hegemony fleet continued its advance toward human settlements, Supreme Admiral Vexstar began to realize that this conquest would be different from all the others. For the first time in centuries, his forces were facing an enemy that refused to be intimidated and was actively preparing to fight back. The humans had turned the 72-hour ultimatum into an opportunity to prepare for war instead of using it to evacuate as intended. The first battle between humans and the hegemony began at Kepler Station, when 30 alien ships encountered Commander Jake Morrison's small fleet of 12 human vessels. Jake knew his ships were outgunned and outnumbered, but he also knew that humans had one advantage the aliens did not expect. Human military doctrine emphasized flexibility and adaptation, while the hegemony relied on overwhelming technological superiority. Jake ordered his ships to spread out in an irregular formation that would confuse the alien targeting systems. The hegemony ships moved in perfect geometric patterns that looked impressive but made them predictable. Lieutenant Dan Miller had spent days studying the alien movement patterns, and he had developed tactics specifically designed to exploit their rigid formations. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded a squadron of converted civilian ships that had been hastily armed with whatever weapons could be installed quickly. Her flagship, the ESS Defender, led 5 cargo vessels that had been turned into makeshift warships. Lisa knew her ships were not designed for combat, but she also knew that human creativity could turn any disadvantage into an opportunity. The battle began when the hegemony ships fired their energy weapons at maximum range, expecting to destroy the human fleet before it could respond effectively. But Jake had positioned his ships near a field of asteroids that absorbed much of the alien fire while providing cover for human vessels. The aliens had superior weapons, but humans had chosen the battlefield on New Texas. Major Kate Stone watched alien landing craft approaching her planet's surface. The hegemony ground forces were protected by energy shields and armed with weapons that could destroy human vehicles with single shots. But Kate had prepared for this moment by studying every piece of information available about alien technology and tactics. The alien soldiers that emerged from the landing craft moved in tight formations and relied heavily on their technological advantages. They expected human resistance to collapse quickly when faced with superior firepower. Instead, they found themselves walking into carefully prepared ambush that used the planet's harsh environment against them. Kate had positioned her forces in the deep canyons and rocky hills that covered much of New Texas. The alien energy weapons were powerful, but they had limited effectiveness against targets. Hidden behind natural rock formations, human soldiers used mining explosives to trigger rock slides that buried entire alien squads while staying safely hidden. Back in space, Commander Morrison's fleet was proving that human tactics could overcome technological disadvantage. The human ships moved unpredictably between asteroids while launching hit and run attacks on the alien formation. Every time the hegemony ships tried to target a human vessel, it would disappear behind cover before emerging somewhere else entirely. Dr. Amanda Brooks made a crucial breakthrough while analyzing data from the battle. She discovered that the alien energy shields operated on fixed frequencies that could be disrupted by rapid changes in weapon output. Amanda immediately transmitted this information to all human ships, allowing them to adjust their weapons to penetrate alien defenses. The first hegemony ship was destroyed when Captain Rodriguez's converted cargo vessel managed to get close enough to ram it while firing at point-blank range. The alien ship's shields failed completely when hit by weapons that changed frequency every few seconds. Rodriguez's ship was badly damaged, but her crew cheered as they watched the alien vessel break apart. Supreme Admiral Vexstar monitored the battle from his flagship and felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest. His forces were losing ships to an obviously inferior enemy, and he could not understand how this was possible. The human tactics made no sense according to standard military doctrine, but they were proving devastatingly effective on New Texas. The ground battle continued, with alien forces finding themselves unable to adapt to human guerrilla warfare. Major Kate Stone's troops used every advantage they could find, including the planet's dangerous wildlife and unpredictable weather patterns. Alien soldiers in environmental suits struggled to operate effectively during dust storms, while humans, who had lived on the planet all their lives, moved freely. The Battle of Kepler Station lasted 6 hours and ended with the hegemony advance force retreating after losing half their ships. The human fleet had lost 4 vessels, but they had achieved something unprecedented in hegemony history. A technologically inferior force had defeated a superior enemy through superior tactics and determination. News of the victory spread quickly through human space, giving hope to colonies that had been preparing for certain defeat. Governor Rick Stone announced that New Texas had successfully repelled the alien landing force and that his people were ready to face whatever came next. Similar reports came from other colonies where human defenders had achieved unexpected successes. Dr. Brooks continued analyzing captured alien technology and made another important discovery. The hegemony ships were designed to fight enemies that used similar technology and tactics. Their defensive systems were optimized to handle energy weapons that operated on predictable frequencies. Human weapons that could rapidly change their characteristics completely confused the alien computers. Captain Ben Foster received orders to organize special operations teams that would conduct raids behind enemy lines. His experience commanding colonial defense forces made him the perfect choice to lead unconventional warfare operations. Ben began recruiting volunteers from across human space who were willing to undertake extremely dangerous missions. The hegemony response to their first defeat was predictable. Supreme Admiral Vexstar ordered additional forces to be brought forward and demanded that human resistance be crushed immediately. But the alien commander was beginning to realize that conquering humanity would require different tactics than had worked against previous enemies. Commander Morrison was promoted to admiral and given command of an expanded fleet that included more converted civilian vessels. The success at Kepler Station had proven that human ingenuity could overcome alien technology if properly applied. Jake began developing new tactics that would take advantage of every weakness the aliens had revealed. Major. Kate Stone's successful defense of New Texas became a model for resistance throughout human space. Her tactics manual was distributed via quantum communication to every colony and military unit. The manual emphasized using local environment and resources to create advantages while avoiding direct confrontation with superior alien technology. As the first day of the war ended, humans across 12 star systems prepared for a long and difficult struggle. They had proven they could fight the hegemony and win, but everyone understood that the aliens would respond with greater force and determination. The real test of human resolve was yet to come, but they had made a crucial first step toward victory. 6 months had passed since the first battle at Kepler Station, and the war between humans and the hegemony had spread across the entire galaxy. Supreme Admiral Vextar had brought the full power of his empire to bear against humanity, deploying over 5,000 warships in a massive offensive designed to crush human resistance once and for all. But the humans had used those 6 months to prepare defenses that turned every star system into a fortress. Admiral Jake Morrison now commanded a fleet of over 300 ships, scattered across human space. Many of these vessels were converted civilian craft, but they were crewed by volunteers who had proven that determination could overcome technological disadvantage. Jake had learned to use the flexibility of human tactics to keep the larger alien fleet off balance and unable to concentrate their superior firepower effectively. Captain Ben Foster led the newly formed Special Operations Command, conducting raids deep behind enemy lines. His teams used captured alien technology combined with human ingenuity to strike at hegemony supply lines and communication centers. Ben had recruited the best soldiers from every colony and trained them in unconventional warfare techniques that the aliens had never encountered before. On the industrial world of New Birmingham, factory supervisor Tom Clark worked around the clock, converting civilian manufacturing to military production. The factories that had once produced farming equipment and household goods now turned out weapons and ammunition for the human fleet. Tom worked alongside engineer Susan Hayes, who had designed new weapon systems based on Dr. Brooks' research into hegemony weaknesses. Dr. Amanda Brooks had become the most important scientist in human space after her discoveries about alien technology. She had developed weapons that could overload hegemony, energy shields, and communication systems that the aliens could not intercept. Amanda worked with a team of the brightest minds from every human colony to stay ahead of alien countermeasures. The war was taking a terrible toll on both sides. Entire colonies had been evacuated as battlefields shifted back and forth across human territory. But for every human settlement that was damaged or destroyed, the defenders made the aliens pay a heavy price. The hegemony was losing ships and crews at a rate they had never experienced in 1,000 years of conquest. Major Kate Stone had been promoted to colonel. After her successful defense of New Texas, her guerrilla warfare manual had been translated into dozens of languages and distributed to resistance groups throughout the galaxy. Kate now led training programs that taught colonial defense forces how to turn any environment into a weapon against alien invaders. Supreme Admiral Vextar faced growing criticism from other hegemony leaders who questioned the wisdom of continuing a war that had already cost more resources than their previous 10 conquests combined. Some coalition members suggested negotiating with the humans, while others demanded even more aggressive tactics. The unity that had held the hegemony together for centuries was beginning to crack. Dr. Brooks achieved another breakthrough when she developed a computer virus that could spread through hegemony communication networks. Working with communications expert Lieutenant Sam Parker, she created a program that caused coordination failures across the alien fleet. Ships would receive contradictory orders or lose contact with their commanders at crucial moments during battle. The effectiveness of human tactics had forced the hegemony to change their approach to warfare for the first time in their history. Instead of relying purely on technological superiority, they were being forced to develop new strategies and adapt to unpredictable human behavior. This put them at a severe disadvantage, since adaptation and flexibility were humanity's greatest strengths. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded the ESS Vengeance, a new warship built specifically for fighting the hegemony. Her ship incorporated lessons learned from 6 months of combat and was designed to take advantage of every alien weakness that had been discovered. Lisa led a squadron of similar vessels that could match alien ships in direct combat for the first time. Governor Rick Stone had lost his right arm in a battle to retake an occupied mining station, but he continued to lead New Texas with the same determination he had shown from the beginning. His colony had become a symbol of human resistance throughout the galaxy, and volunteers came from other worlds to help defend it. Rick's leadership proved that humans would never surrender no matter what price they had to pay. The hegemony tried new tactics, including biological weapons and psychological warfare, but humans adapted to every new threat. Colonial populations that had lived through generations of hardship on frontier worlds were not easily intimidated by alien attempts to break their morale. Instead, every new atrocity only strengthened human resolve to continue fighting. Admiral Morrison coordinated the defense of 3 star systems simultaneously using quantum communication networks that Dr. Brooks had made immune to alien interference. His strategic brilliance had turned humanity's scattered colonies into a network of mutually supporting strongholds that could reinforce each other quickly when needed. Colonel Stone's planet had become a training ground for resistance fighters. From across human space, the harsh environment and dangerous wildlife of New Texas created perfect conditions for preparing soldiers to fight against superior technology. Kate's training programs produced fighters who could operate effectively in any environment, against any enemy. Captain Foster's special operations teams had captured several hegemony installations and brought back valuable intelligence about alien military capabilities. The information revealed that the hegemony fleet was having serious supply problems because of constant human raids on their logistics networks. Ben realized that humans could win the war by making it too expensive for the aliens to continue. The captured intelligence also revealed growing tensions within the hegemony coalition. Several member races were questioning whether conquering humanity was worth the enormous cost in ships and personnel. Some were secretly exploring the possibility of making separate peace agreements with human colonies. Dr. Brooks' research team made their most important discovery yet when they found a way to completely disrupt hegemony shield generators. The new weapons could overload alien defensive systems so quickly that enemy ships became completely vulnerable to human attack. Amanda immediately began mass production of the new technology. As the first year of the war ended, humans had not only survived the initial assault but had proven they could fight the most powerful military force in the galaxy to a standstill. More importantly, they had learned to use alien technology against its creators while maintaining the tactical flexibility that made human forces so effective. The stage was set for humanity to move from defense to offense. 2 years into the war, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center planning the largest military operation in human history. Operation Prometheus was designed to break the hegemony supply lines and force their main fleet into a decisive battle where human tactical advantages could overcome alien technological superiority. Jake had learned that winning this war would require taking risks that no military commander had ever attempted before. The operation involved coordinated attacks across 8 star systems simultaneously, while Captain Ben Foster's special forces infiltrated the main hegemony staging area. The timing had to be perfect because the aliens would adapt quickly once they realized what was happening. Jake knew they would only get one chance to achieve the breakthrough that could end the war. Dr. Amanda Brooks had spent months preparing for this moment by developing new weapons specifically designed to overload hegemony defensive systems. Her research team had created devices that could disrupt alien communications, create false sensor readings, and cause their automated systems to malfunction. Amanda knew that human victory depended on her ability to give their forces every possible advantage. Captain Lisa Rodriguez prepared to lead the main assault force aboard her flagship Vengeance. Her squadron included the most advanced ships in the human fleet, equipped with the latest weapons and commanded by the most experienced officers. Lisa had fought in more battles against the hegemony than any other captain, and she understood their weaknesses better than anyone. The operation began at exactly midnight standard time when human forces launched simultaneous attacks on hegemony positions throughout their territory. The aliens had never faced such a coordinated offensive, and their response was confused and disorganized. Captain Foster's teams had already infiltrated key installations and began sabotaging communications equipment and weapon systems. Colonel Kate Stone led the ground assault on the hegemony's main supply depot, using tactics she had perfected during 2 years of guerrilla warfare. Her forces moved through the alien base like ghosts, striking at critical systems and disappearing before enemy forces could respond. Kate had trained her soldiers to turn any environment into a weapon, and the alien base became a maze of deadly traps. Supreme Admiral Vexstar watched his carefully planned defenses collapse as human forces struck from directions he had not anticipated. The rigid hegemony command structure was not designed to handle multiple simultaneous crises, and his subordinates waited for orders while human attacks succeeded throughout their territory. For the first time in his career, Vexstar faced the possibility of total defeat. Dr. Brooks' computer virus spread through the hegemony communication network faster than their technicians could contain it. Alien ships found themselves cut off from their commanders while automated systems began displaying false information. The virus had been designed to learn from hegemony countermeasures and adapt faster than they could develop new defenses. Captain Rodriguez's assault on the main alien fleet achieved complete surprise when her ships appeared from hyperspace inside the enemy formation. The hegemony vessels were not prepared for close combat, and their long-range weapons were ineffective at such short distances. Lisa's ships used their superior maneuverability to stay close to the alien vessels while their new weapons overloaded enemy shields. The battle for the hegemony staging area lasted 18 hours and ended with human forces in control of the alien supply network. Captain Foster's teams had captured intact hegemony command ships with their computers full of intelligence about alien military capabilities and strategic plans. The information they recovered revealed the location of every major hegemony installation in the galaxy. Governor Rick Stone received reports that New Texas had become the center of a new human offensive that was pushing alien forces out of 3-star systems. His colony had evolved from a farming community under siege to the headquarters of humanity's most successful military campaigns. Rick's determination to never surrender had inspired an entire generation of human fighters. The captured intelligence revealed critical weaknesses in hegemony strategy that Dr. Brooks immediately began exploiting. She discovered that the alien fleet depended on a centralized logistics network that could be disrupted by targeting specific nodes. Amanda designed attacks that would cause cascading failures throughout their supply system. Admiral Morrison coordinated the follow-up operations that took advantage of the confusion caused by Operation Prometheus. Human forces advanced into alien territory for the first time since the war, began capturing installations and liberating occupied worlds. Jake realized that humanity had finally gained the initiative and could begin dictating the terms of the conflict. The success of human tactics had completely changed the strategic situation in the galaxy. Other alien races that had been conquered by the hegemony began organizing their own resistance movements, using human training and equipment. The coalition that had dominated the galaxy for 1,000 years was facing rebellions on dozens of worlds. Colonel Stone's ground forces had become so effective that hegemony commanders were reluctant to attempt planetary invasions against human defended worlds. Kate's tactics had proven that determined defenders with proper training could defeat technologically superior attackers. Her training programs were being requested by resistance groups throughout the galaxy. Captain Foster's special operations teams had evolved into a force that could strike anywhere in hegemony territory and disappear before enemy forces could respond. Ben had created a new form of warfare that combined human adaptability with captured alien technology. His successes had forced the hegemony to divert enormous resources to protecting their rear areas. The political situation within the hegemony coalition was deteriorating rapidly as member races began questioning their leadership's ability to defeat humanity. Some races had already withdrawn their fleets from combat operations, while others were secretly negotiating with human representatives. The unity that had held their empire together was cracking under the pressure of military defeats. Dr. Brooks made her most important discovery when she found a way to completely neutralize hegemony shield technology using quantum interference patterns. The breakthrough meant that human weapons could now penetrate any alien defense, making their technological superiority irrelevant. Amanda began immediate production of the new weapons, knowing they could end the war quickly. Supreme Admiral Vextar faced a desperate situation as his forces retreated across multiple sectors while human offensives gained momentum throughout his territory. The rigid command structure that had served the hegemony for centuries was proving unable to adapt to human tactical flexibility. Vextar realized he was fighting an enemy unlike any his people had encountered before. As Operation Prometheus achieved complete success, Admiral Morrison began planning the final offensive that would force the hegemony to surrender. Human forces now controlled key strategic positions throughout alien territory, while resistance movements disrupted their remaining strongholds. Jake knew that victory was within reach, but the final battle would determine the future of both species. The final battle of the war began in the Centauri system, where Admiral Jake Morrison's combined fleet of 800 ships faced the remaining hegemony armada. Despite still being outnumbered 2-1, the human forces now possessed technological and tactical advantages that made victory possible. Jake knew this battle would determine whether humanity emerged as a free species or faced extinction at alien hands. Captain Lisa Rodriguez commanded the fleet's vanguard aboard the ESS Vengeance, leading the most experienced combat veterans in human space. Her ships were equipped with Dr. Brooks' latest weapons that could penetrate any hegemony defense, while their crews had learned to fight with a ferocity that terrified alien commanders. Lisa had proven that human determination combined with superior tactics could overcome any technological disadvantage. Colonel Kate Stone prepared to lead the largest ground assault in the war's history as human forces prepared to capture the hegemony's main command center. Her troops included veterans from every colony who had volunteered for what everyone knew would be the most dangerous mission of the entire conflict. Kate had spent 3 years perfecting guerrilla warfare tactics, and now she would use everything she had learned in one final assault. Supreme Admiral Vextar faced the collapse of everything his people had built over 1,000 years of conquest. The hegemony coalition was falling apart as member races abandoned their alliance and sued for separate peace with humanity. Vextar realized that his rigid military doctrine had failed completely when confronted with human adaptability, and he prepared for a desperate final gambit. The space battle erupted when human ships emerged from hyperspace in formations that the aliens had never encountered before. Admiral Morrison's forces attacked from multiple directions simultaneously, while Dr. Brooks' jamming systems prevented effective hegemony coordination. The alien fleet found itself fighting dozens of separate engagements. Instead of one large battle they could control. Captain Ben Foster's special operations teams had infiltrated the hegemony command center days before the main assault began. His soldiers moved through the alien facility like shadows, sabotaging critical systems and eliminating key personnel. Ben had learned to combine human stealth techniques with captured alien technology, creating an almost unstoppable force. Dr. Amanda Brooks monitored the battle from her command ship, watching as her new weapons systematically destroyed hegemony defenses. Her quantum interference devices had made alien shields completely useless, while her communication viruses prevented enemy coordination. Amanda realized that human scientific ingenuity had finally overcome centuries of alien technological advancement. The ground assault began with Colonel Stone's forces using tactics that turned the alien command center into a death trap for its defenders. Kate's soldiers moved through the facility using routes that hegemony architects had never intended, while explosive charges brought down critical support structures. Her troops had learned to make every corridor and room a battlefield that favored human tactics. Captain Rodriguez led her squadron in a direct assault on the Hegemony, flagship engaging Supreme Admiral Vextar's personal ship in single combat. The battle between the two vessels demonstrated how completely the strategic situation had changed during 3 years of war. Lisa's ship was smaller and less heavily armed, but her crew's superior training and tactics gave them every advantage. They needed. Governor Rick Stone watched the final battle from New Texas, knowing that his refusal to evacuate 3 years earlier had helped make human victory possible. His colony had become the symbol of human resistance and the training ground for the tactics that were now defeating the galaxy's most powerful military force. Rick's determination had inspired an entire species to never surrender, the Hegemony's desperate final gambit came when Vextar ordered a direct assault on Earth itself, hoping to force human surrender by threatening their home world. But Director Charles Hayes had prepared for this possibility by upgrading Earth's defensive systems with captured alien technology. The planet's orbital fortresses destroyed the attacking fleet before it could reach the inner system. Admiral Morrison coordinated the final phase of the battle as Hegemony resistance collapsed throughout their territory. Human forces had proven that tactical flexibility and determination could overcome any technological advantage, while Dr. Brooks' innovations had eliminated alien defensive superiority. Jake realized that humanity had not just won a war but had fundamentally changed how conflicts would be fought in the future. Colonel Stone's assault teams captured the Hegemony Command Center after 18 hours of intense fighting. Fate personally accepted the surrender of the alien commanders who had never faced an enemy that refused to be intimidated by superior technology. Her victory proved that human ground forces had become the most effective military units in the galaxy. The war ended when Supreme Admiral Vextar transmitted an unconditional surrender to all Hegemony forces after his flagship was disabled by Captain Rodriguez's squadron. The alliance of 12 alien races that had dominated the galaxy for a millennium agreed to withdraw from human space and establish formal borders. Their first major defeat had shattered their confidence, and